Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, a U.S. military aircraft landed at the A.N.R. Robinson International Airport around midday Tuesday after the dismantling of a U.S. radar system on the island of Tobago. The aircraft is believed to be facilitating the removal of the estimated U.S. $3 million per day ground and air task-oriented radar. That's what it costed America to maintain and to utilize that device. Not Trinidad. Trinidad did not pay anything for that or pay the bill for that, cover the bill for that. The landing came 24 hours after Guardian Media, aka Kakash Media, the Mako Media of Trinidad and Tobago, the PNM Mako Media of Trinidad and Tobago, confirmed the system had been taken down at the airport. Fali Augustine, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, said last week U.S. troops managing the radar would leave within days. And of course, the media and the tribal patriots in Trinidad and Tobago began to clap. Because remember, we don't want to have any sort of Americans over we, Jed. The exact timing of their departure has not been disclosed, with officials treating it as a national security matter. Now, of course, that is a fact. And of course, you all know the Kakash media will say, no, we want transparency and accountability and everything. We want the truth. They could not demand the truth or any sort of answers from Emperor Rowley, though. But they want to do that with Prime Minister Kamala Prasad says, when it is necessary to give information to the public, the government will do so. When it pertains to national security and agreements we have made with our greatest ally, the United States of America, and its confidential information, no matter what the Kakash media tries to do, they will not force our government to give them or disclose that sensitive information to the public so that our enemy nations, our enemies will end up knowing what is taking place. No, that is not going to happen, Kakash media. The Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation is warning the public against the use of unregistered electric scooters and motorcycles on the nation's roads, as well as riding without the required driving permits. I knew it was coming. I just knew it. In a statement, the ministry said these vehicles are mechanically propelled and therefore fall under the definition of motor vehicles in the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Act, Chapter 4850. I knew it. Just, I guess you'll need to have what, license plates and stuff like that now to it. Scooter, you know. All right. So if you have a fella in Grandy, anyhow, let me leave that out. Let me enjoy your bicycle. Okay, it is a bicycle. The ministry warned that anyone found in breach of these provisions will face enforcement action in accordance with the law. Everything is the law. A scooter, you know, how fast you really can go to a scooter bike? But anyhow, it is also urging all road users to comply with the regulations to ensure safety and responsible use of the nation's roadways. Now, don't get me wrong. You have to be cautious, because the same thing, if you're with a bicycle, when you're riding a bicycle at high speed, you could end up damaging yourself. So, likewise with a scooter. But oh gosh, man, you need a license for a scooter now, boy. Just because it propelled by I think it's electricity, battery. My goodness. The THA Division of Education says delays in payments to maxi taxi concessionaires transporting students in Tobago are not due to negligence on its part. On Monday, Education Secretary Orlando Kerr told the media that while he sympathizes with operators, the payment process for service providers is a lengthy one. Well, that is something that needs to be rectified, whether it's central government causing that or whatsoever. Get it done so that people can receive their payments on time, please. We're not under the PNM anymore, so we want proper, efficient, and proper type of governance. Yes, higher standard. The Education Secretary also said efforts are underway to streamline the arrangement, which will most likely make it much faster. That's good. Noting that a meeting was held with the Public Transport Service Commission, PTSC, to develop a memorandum of understanding. Now that's a good step forward. Most likely that will end up resolving the matter. Regional news up next.
The Division of Education, Skills and Innovation only received the invoices for January on the 2nd of March. After the invoices were received, all the processing took place. The vouchers, it was vouchered and checked, and the funds have been released already to PTSC. But as I said earlier, it's a lengthy process. From what we understand, based on our last meeting with PTSC, is that when we release funds to PTSC, the funds go to Trinidad, and then I think Trinidad releases the payment to the maxi taxi drivers.
Mr. Kerr added that a verification process is also required to confirm that trips were made, which contributes to the delay. He noted that the division is exploring the use of technology to improve efficiency.
We are very cognizant of the fact that the whole verification process takes a lot of time, and we are looking at ways in which we can reduce that time. And one of the ways that was discussed is the use of technology, the use of GPS system and so on, so that we will be able to, in a quicker time, be able to verify that the trips were made and so on, and that we will be able to process their payments fast.
For Wednesday, March 18, 2026, the weather in Trinidad and Tobago is expected to be sunny and breezy with a few brief, isolated showers. Piarco and surroundings, maximum temperature of 31 degrees Celsius and a minimum of 24 degrees Celsius. Crown Point, Tobago, maximum temperature of 30 degrees Celsius and a minimum of 25 degrees Celsius. High wind alert, yellow level. A yellow level high wind alert remains in effect for the region. Sea conditions, waters are expected to be rough with waves reaching up to 3.0 meters in open waters and remaining choppy in sheltered areas. Saharan dust. There is a low but increasing concentration of Saharan dust in the atmosphere, which may affect sensitive individuals.
Dr. Godwin Friday, delivering his address at the Obelisk in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the first time as Prime Minister, told the gathering that the day is worthy of celebration, not just because of the death of Paramount Chief Joseph Chatoya, but because of the cause of which he died. The Prime Minister went on to say that the story of Garifuna people is one of survival that rivals any in human history. While tragic, he said it is also a hopeful and uplifting story, one that speaks of unimaginable loss, but also of resilience and survival.
We celebrate because he and the Garifuna warriors, he led. They fought relentlessly and died to defend our land, to defend their freedom. The same land that we now enjoy and call our home. We celebrate the spirit of Chatoya and the people who stood up in the face of overwhelming numbers of British soldiers. Such courage was stoked by their love of their country and their people. A love that has survived their death and has transcended enormous distances in time and place, and yet flourishes within us, the children of Chatoya. We in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Innovation, creativity, and talent were on display on Monday as students of the Guyana School of Agriculture hosted their annual Food Science and Technology and Agribusiness Management exhibition. Hosted at the institution's Monrepo campus, the event saw students who were part of the diploma in Agriculture Year 2 program showcased a wide range of innovative food products made from locally available produce. It's all about becoming what? Self-sufficient, providing food, which is the most basic need of any civilization for your own country. A major part of the academic journey, the exhibition sought to highlight Guyana's food security potential, as students were also tasked with designing packaging and marketing their products to demonstrate their skills in food safety and entrepreneurship. Now, ain't that wonderful? Giving insight into the exhibition, Stacia McDonald, Assistant Manager of the Guyana School of Agriculture Agro-Processing Facility, said the event was vital for the students and an integral part of the program. Who knows, maybe some of these students may end up exporting food products to here in Trinidad and Tobago at some point in time in the near future. She explained that students were tasked with practically demonstrating the concepts of food development, food safety, and entrepreneurship. The group of more than 20 students were given several weeks to create each product, including concept creation, development, and branding. The 2026-2027 budget for Barbados, unveiled in February 2026, focuses on significant spending increases for goods, services, and current transfers, with total expenditure estimated at Barbados $6.139 billion on accrual basis. Key financial targets and spending includes total expenditure projected at Barbados $5.076 billion on a cash basis, excluding amortization, featuring a substantial Barbados $766.7 million increase in current expenditure compared to the previous year. It looks as though the Prime Minister is trying to make a greater effort to serve our people. Isn't that so? I don't know. I could be wrong. People, you need to comment. I'm sure it has people from Barbados watching my videos as well on YouTube. Comment and tell me, what is your opinion? I mean, most of you all did vote for her, so I believe that you will agree that she's doing something good. Surplus goal, the primary balance is projected to record a surplus Barbados $817.5 million, which is approximately 4.8% of GDP. Debt servicing is total of Barbados $1.496 billion is earmarked for debt servicing, covering both principal and interest payments. Capital investment, approximately Barbados $889.8 million is allocated for capital spending to drive long-term development. Yes, people, you need to invest in order to be able to reap benefits. Unlike the PNM, they allocated billions of dollars, 50 or 60 billion dollar annual budgets. And all they told the nation is that we had to wean off of this and wean off of that. And they couldn't do this and they couldn't do that. And the government couldn't bear the burden of doing this and fixing the roads and all sorts of nonsense. But yet they had $60 billion budgets. What they did with that money, this is what we need the UNC government to find out. Jamaica's opposition leader, Mark Golden, is calling for stronger support for anti-corruption measures and institutions aimed at promoting good governance and moral values in Jamaica. The moral values part of it is really so important, but to be able to do that, you need to end the promotion and the glorification of gang culture. Are you willing to do that, Mark Golding? And is Prime Minister Andrew Holness willing to do that as well? Golding said the People's National Party remains committed to upholding principles of good governance and urged the government to strengthen efforts to investigate unexplained wealth. I agree with him, I agree with him. There are certain things that he's saying that I really don't like, and that's why I believe that maybe, just maybe, Andrew Holness is the best Prime Minister for Jamaica at this point in time. But when it pertains to these types of issues, yes, I definitely agree with him.
You should be further strengthening the anti-corruption arsenal by introducing the important tool of unexplained wealth orders to further reinforce the tools available to law enforcement now for recovering illegally obtained income and wealth. That was agreed upon by both sides in 2019, but you have cast it asunder. Why have you abandoned the procedures of impeachment of parliamentarians and other holders of high office that former JLP Prime Minister Bruce Golding tabled in this House in 2011, and I updated by tabling a private member's bill in 2021. Why are you not pursuing procedures for the recall of non-performing elected representatives to ensure that there are consequences when conduct and performance fall below what is acceptable in a free and democratic society based on the rule of law? Why? We remain committed to these reforms that enhance accountability and good governance. I ask again, why have you not joined in our call for strong public education to promote wholesome values and attitudes based on love and respect for our fellow citizens, and playing by the rules or changing those rules if they're not fit for purpose? Why have you not joined with that?
President and Bahamas Aquatics Federation President Algernon Cargill recently raised issues involving the National Sports Authority. It's national, that means probably what, government controlled, including limited access to Betty Kelly Kenning Aquatic Center, pool temperatures, and rising fees. So you're raising the fees, and yet the temperature is probably what, too cold or too warm, what it is. So, I mean, and it's a state-owned pool, because it says it's National Sports Authority. So it appears it belongs to the government, to the state, at least to some extent. NSA General Manager Moses Johnson has since responded, offering a different perspective on the situation as discussions continue between both sides. But what is a different perspective? Really? If it is that there's an issue with the temperature of the pool, and there is an actual issue of rising fees, how you trying to justify that? Justify like our PNM used to be justifying what they were doing here in Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, don't get me wrong, I also disagree with how even the Prime Minister has decided to raise fees and fines and taxes here in Trinidad and Tobago as well. I don't agree with doing these things just to be able to generate more revenue. Find alternative ways to do that. Not by putting more burden, frustrating the citizens and taking more money out of their pockets when already the cost of living is rising throughout the entire Caribbean. That's one thing PNMIs were right about it. Since I've been covering regional news, they were right about one thing. The rising in the cost of living is definitely something that has been experienced throughout the entire Caribbean. International news now. President Trump joked during St. Patrick's Day celebration and said that he spent the whole day with the Irish, but should have been spending it with the Iranians before warning, we are knocking them for a loop. They can't have a nuclear weapon, and they now understand that very strongly. Yeah, they understand that. But at the end of the day, they are not going to give up until the job is completely finished. Now, I do agree that it shouldn't have any boots on the ground. It's going to just end up costing much more American lives. And Israel shouldn't really get involved in that either. What they're trying to do, and I agree with it, is destroy all the military capabilities of the Ayatollah regime so that the people of Iran, the Iranians who want liberation, to take back control of their own country, their own future, and restoring democracy in that country, in that nation.
I spent my whole day with the Irish. And I should have been spending it with the Iranians, but that's not, you know, in a different sense. We're doing very well, I will say. We're knocking them for a loop. They can't have a nuclear weapon, and they now understand that very strongly.
U.S. Senator Ted Cruz says you need a photo ID to enroll in college. You need a photo ID to open a bank account. You need a photo ID to check into a hotel. And I got to admit, this is my personal favorite. You need a photo ID, actually 2 photo IDs, to shovel snow in New York City. And yet the radical left tells everyone that people shouldn't need an ID in order to vote. I am adding on that part of it, but I'm sure that is what his message was all about. In almost all other countries, people, we understand that you need to identify yourself when you are going to vote. As a matter of fact, what we do here in Trinidad and Tobago, you put ink on your finger after providing your ID and everything like that, you also put ink on your finger so that you cannot go back and try to vote again somewhere else under some other identification or person, right? Personality. So, but it goes back to, you cannot just go in a polling booth and just say, I am so and so and so, and yet you have no way to verify who you are. You need ID in order to vote. That is something extremely important. And people have to continue to ask the question, why it is Democrats don't want that law to be enforced.
You need a photo ID to enroll in college. You need a photo ID to open a bank account. You need a photo ID to check into a hotel. And I got to admit, this is my personal favorite. You need a photo ID, actually 2 photo IDs, to shovel snow in New York City.
Wage war. New York City is weighing a plan to raise the minimum wage as high as $30. Wow. Now that sounds good, but a proposal Mayor Mamdani has signaled support for. Critics warn the move could drive up prices and obliterate industries like fast food and healthcare, potentially hurting young and low-income workers. Exactly. If you raise the minimum wage too high, when at a time when businesses aren't generating sufficient income, revenue, profit, in order to be able to pay those salaries, what is going to end up happening? They're going to lay off a lot of people. That is what will end up happening. So as much as it's a good thing to have a proper minimum wage, I wish that our minimum wage increases here in Trinidad and Tobago as well. But I mean, dollar for dollar, $30 per hour in America, right? That is almost $200 TT per hour here. We need our minimum wage to raise, and yet we cannot really do it to any significant extent right now because of the same reason. We do not have an economy that is really prospering at this point in time. And New York, because of high taxes and stuff like that, is a state that, or city, and the state itself, but the city, it's prospering to an extent, but it probably isn't generating that type of revenue in order to be able to pay that type of salary. Mamdani. Now for the interesting facts segment, Sweden is rethinking classroom habits by reducing screen time and bringing back books, handwriting, and focused learning. Educators have found that constant digital use can affect attention span and comprehension, while writing by hand helps improve memory and understanding. So true, eh? The shift isn't about rejecting technology, but creating a better balance. That's what we need. I love technology, but there needs to be balance as well between digital tools and traditional methods. By encouraging students to slow down and engage more deeply, interacting with each other as well, Sweden's approach highlights an important idea. The real advantage in today's world may be the ability to focus. Focus and also human contact, human interaction, not just only interacting with people online, but in person.
Welcome to Real Conservative News Travel Adventures. Cape Town, South Africa, is a stunning coastal metropolis known as the Mother City, celebrated for its dramatic scenery, combining Table Mountain, pristine beaches, and vibrant culture. It offers a mix of urban sophistication, history at Robben Island, world-class vineyards, and diverse wildlife, including penguins at Boulders Beach. Top attractions and experiences. Table Mountain, a new 7 wonder of nature, accessible by hiking or the aerial cableway, offering panoramic views. Vienna Waterfront, a bustling hub for shopping, dining, and boat trips. Cape Point Nature Reserve, dramatic cliffs and ocean scenery at the Cape of Good Hope. Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden, a UNESCO World Heritage Site showcasing indigenous flora.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe, most of all, in Jesus' name.